Yes, very good afternoon, students. Welcome back to online session. In the previous session, we have seen alkalinity of water, that is determination of alkalinity of water sample and ion exchange method. Ion exchange method is one of the purification method. And in determination of alkalinity of water sample, we are calculating temporary hardness and also caustic alkalinity. To find the temporary alkalinity and caustic alkalinity, we are using two different indicators, that is phenolphthalein and the methyl orange indicator. Phenolphthalein indicator is using to find OH minus and carbonate, and phenolphthalein endpoint is indicating complete neutralization of OH minus and half neutralization of carbonate. But whereas methyl orange indicator is using to find all three ions in the water sample, that is OH minus, carbonate and bicarbonate. But we are adding methyl orange after finding the phenolphthalein endpoint. So methyl orange endpoint is indicating remaining half neutralization of carbonate and the complete neutralization of bicarbonate in the alkalinity experiment. So like that, we can find the temporary alkalinity and caustic alkalinity by using phenolphthalein and the methyl orange indicators. And the next topic was the ion exchange method. Here ion exchange method is one of the best technique to get the purified water. It is also called as the demineralization process or deionization process. By using ion exchange method, we can remove all the hardness causing ions in the water sample. So what are the all hardness causing ions? Cations and the anions. So it is removing all the cations and the anions by using ion exchange method. So we are getting highly purified water in the ion exchange method by using the resins. Resins are nothing but the polymers. These are only responsible to exchanging cations and the anions in the water sample. So now the next purification technique, reverse osmosis process. It is also called as the RO method. RO is nothing but the reverse osmosis process. So the purifiers which we are using in the home follows reverse osmosis principle. So reverse osmosis method is using in the domestic purpose in the purifiers. So reverse osmosis process is the reverse process of osmosis. That means it is the reverse process of osmosis. And here osmosis process is the spontaneous process and the natural process which is occurring naturally. But whereas the reverse osmosis process is not the natural process, it is the non-spontaneous process and the artificial process. Here non-spontaneous process is nothing but the process which is done by applying the force by the human being. That is the non-spontaneous process or the artificial process. So first let us see what is meant by the osmosis. Osmosis is nothing but when two solutions of unequal concentrations are separated by a semi-permeable membrane, the flow of solvent particle takes place from dilute to concentrated side. So what is the osmosis? In the osmosis process, when the two different solutions, that means when the two solutions of different concentrations are separated by the semi-permeable membrane. That means in one container, we are taking the two different solutions. One side the low concentrated solution and another side high concentrated solution. These two solutions are separated by the semi-permeable membrane. But when these two solutions are separated by the semi-permeable membrane, the semi-permeable membrane allows only the solvent particles from low concentrated solution to high concentrated solution. That is called osmosis process. But reverse osmosis is the reverse process of osmosis. That means the solvent particles will transfer from high concentration solution to low concentration solution through semi-permeable membrane. But I said you now, the reverse osmosis process is a non-spontaneous process and which occurs by applying pressure in the opposite direction. So what is the opposite direction? What happens in the osmosis? The solvent particles are transferred from low to high. So when we apply more than the osmotic pressure in the opposite direction, that means at high concentrated solution, the reverse process will be takes, that is a reverse osmosis process. That means in the reverse osmosis process, the solvent particles will transfer from high concentration solution to low concentration solution. So if however a hydrostatic pressure in excess of osmotic pressure is applied on the concentrated side, the solvent flows from high concentrated solution to low concentrated solution through semi-permeable membrane. So what we are doing here, we are applying more than the osmotic pressure on the high concentrated solution. So what happens here? Now the solvent will be transferred from high concentrated solution to low concentrated solution. This is called the reverse osmosis process. So by using this technique, we are converting seawater to pure water, or else we are extracting pure water from the seawater. So thus in the reverse osmosis process methods, pure water is separated from its contaminants. So we know the seawater is having the pure water as well as the contaminants. We are not removing the contaminants by the filtration process. Instead of removing, what we are doing, we are separating the contaminants from the seawater rather than removing contaminants from the seawater. This membrane filtration is also called as superfiltration or the hyperfiltration process. That means the reverse osmosis process is also called as a hyperfiltration or the superfiltration process. And what is happening in the reverse osmosis process? Separating the contaminants in the water rather than removing the contaminants in the water sample. So now let us see the process of reverse osmosis process. The method. In this process, the pressure of 15 to 40 kg per centimeter square is applied to the seawater or impure water to force its pure water out through the semi-permeable membrane, leaving behind the dissolved solid. So what is the seawater here? Seawater is nothing but the pure water and the contaminants. So when we are applying around 15 to 40 kg per centimeter square pressure on the seawater, it is having the solute and solvent. What is the solute here? Solute is a contaminant and the solvent is the pure water. So the solvent will transfer from the seawater to pure water. That means the pure water will be transferred from seawater to pure water and the remaining contaminants will be behind of the semi-permeable membrane. That is the dissolved solids. Dissolved solids are nothing but the impurities are the contaminants. These are leaving behind the semi-permeable membrane, but whereas the pure water is collecting through this outlet. So this is the reverse osmosis process. So in the reverse osmosis process, we can separate the pure water from the seawater. The membrane consists of very thin film of cellulose acetate affixed to either side of a perforated tube. So it is a very thin film. This thin film is having both sides cellulose acetate. That is, it is made of the cellulose acetate. The semi-permeable membrane is made of the cellulose acetate. But however, more recently superior membranes are made of polymethacrylate and polyamide polymers have come into use. So nowadays, we are using polymethacrylate semi-permeable membrane or polyamide semi-permeable membrane because these are more effective than the semi-permeable membrane which we are preparing by using the cellulose acetate. Yes. Now let us see what are the advantages and the disadvantages of the reverse osmosis process. Reverse osmosis process is a distinct advantage of removing ionic as well as the non-ionic, colloidal and high molecular weight organic matter. So it is removing the impurities. Those impurities are ionic impurities non-ionic impurities, colloidal impurities, and the high molecular weight organic matter. It is also removes colloidal silica, but which we can't remove by using the deionization process or the demineralization process. That means by using ion exchange method, we can't remove the colloidal silica, but whereas by using reverse osmosis process, we can remove the colloidal silica. That is one of the advantage. The maintenance cost is almost entirely on the replacement of semi-permeable membrane only. The lifetime of membrane is quite high, about 2 years. The membrane can be replaced within a few minutes, there providing uninterrupted water supply. So the replacement also very easy, within a fraction of minutes we can replace the semi-permeable membrane. And due to low capital cost, simplicity, low operating cost and high reliability, the reverse osmosis gaining ground at present for converting sea water into drinking water and for obtaining water for very high pressure boilers. So by using the reverse osmosis process, we can collect the pure water from the sea water. So this water also can be used in the high pressure boilers. Yes, maybe you heard about the boiler troubles. We know what are the causes of the boiler troubles due to using the sea water or the salt water. The boiler troubles are causes. So if we get the pure water from the reverse osmosis process, that water we can use in the high pressure boilers for the steam generation. So that is also one of the advantage of reverse osmosis process. So now let us see the next topic, that is specification of potable water. So what are the characteristics and what are the specifications of the potable water? And sparkling clear and the odorless. That means the potable water is nothing but the drinking water here. The drinking water must be clear and odorless. That means it should not have any smell. Pleasant in taste. That means it is tasteless. The taste must be very pleasant. Perfectly cool. Turbidity should not exceed 10 ppm. It should be free from the objectionable minerals such as lead, arsenic, chromium, manganese salts. It should be free from objectionable gases like hydrogen sulfide. pH should be in the range of 7 to 8. Alkalinity should not be high. Alkalinity is nothing but basicity. It should not exceed 8. Dissolved solid should be less than 500 ppm. It should be soft and free from disease-causing microorganisms. Fluoride content should be less than 1.5 ppm and chloride sulfate content should be less than 250 ppm. Yes, so these are the characteristics or the specifications of the potable water. It is very, very important for the 2 marks questions. What are the specifications of the potable water? Write any 5 specifications or write any 4 specifications of the potable water. So the next topic is disinfection of water by the chlorination process. So after this, let us see what is the break point of chlorination in the next class. So what is disinfection? Disinfection is nothing but it is also one of the purification. Chlorination is nothing but adding chlorine to the water to kill the bacteria. So chlorination is the most commonly used disinfectant in water treatment throughout the world. It can be employed directly as gas or in the form of concentrated solution in water. So how we are adding chlorine to the water? We can add directly as gas or we can add the concentrated solution in the water to kill the bacteria in the water sample. It produces hypochlorous acid, which is a powerful germicide. So what is producing here? By adding chlorine to the water, chlorine is reacting with the water sample and producing hypochlorous acid. This hypochlorous acid is responsible to kill the bacteria in the water sample. So this hypochlorous acid is acting as a germicide. So let us see the reaction part for this. So here chlorine is reacting with the water and producing HOCl and HCl. You know what is HCl? This is hydrochloric acid, and here HOCl is nothing but the hypochlorous acid which is acting as a germicide. and this germicide is reacting with the bacteria and killing immediately. That means the hypochlorous acid is killing the bacteria in the water sample. So death of microorganisms, bacteria, etc. results from chemical reaction of hypochlorous acid with enzymes in the cell of organisms. Since enzyme is essential for the metabolic process of microorganisms, so death of microorganisms results due to inactivation of enzyme by hypochlorous acid. So it is killing the disease causing microorganisms and the bacteria. So which results from the chemical reaction of hypochlorous acid with the enzymes. So immediately hypochlorous acids are reacting with the enzymes. So when it is reacting with the enzymes, so these will be inactive in the water sample. So the apparatus used for disinfection by chlorine is known as the chlorinator. So in chlorination process, we are using one of the equipment. That equipment is known as the chlorinator. In this chlorinator only we are performing the chlorination process. It is a large tower which contains a number of baffle plates. From its top, a raw water and proper quantity of chlorine solution are introduced. These get thoroughly mixed during their passage through the water. For filtered water, about 2.5 ppm of chlorine is sufficient. So for filtered water, only the 0.5 ppm of chlorine is sufficient in the chlorination process. Disinfected water is taken out from the outlet at the bottom of chlorinator. That means the pure water is collecting from the outlet. But there are some factors which are affecting on the chlorination process. One is the temperature and the time of contact and the pH of water. Temperature of water. The rate of reaction with enzymes increases with temperature. That means the reactivity with enzymes is increasing by increasing the temperature. So consequently, the death of organisms by chlorine increases with rise in temperature. That means by increasing the temperature, the chlorination process also very fast because the reactivity of enzymes are increasing by increasing the temperature. Now the time of contact, death rate of microorganisms by chlorine is proportional to the number of microorganisms remain alive. Initially the death rate is maximum and with time it goes on decreases. So initially the microorganisms are more. So for killing the bacteria and microorganisms it will take more time initially. But gradually the disease causing microorganisms and bacteria are killing. So the time also decreases. The time of contact also decreases gradually. Next one is pH of water. At lower pH values, a small contact is required to kill the bacteria. That means if water is acidic, it is taking a less time to kill the bacteria in the water sample. So these are the three factors which are affecting on the chlorination. So this is the chlorinator. So this is the raw water inlet and this is the chlorine inlet. So by passing water and the chlorine gas, these two are mixed up and these are the baffle plates. These are the perforated plates are the baffle plates and these are mixed up and it is killing the bacteria and the microorganisms in the water sample and collecting the pure water or the disinfected water from this outlet. So now let us see what are the advantages. It is effective and economical. It is stable, requires small space for storage and does not deteriorate on keeping. That means it is not decomposing on keeping. It can be used at high as well as low temperature. It does not introduce any impurity in water. That means whatever the water we are collecting after disinfection process, it is not introducing any impurity in the water. It is most ideal disinfectant. So these are all advantages of chlorination process. But there are some disadvantages of chlorination. Excess of chlorine produces bad taste and disagreeable odor. Excess chlorine produces irritation on mucous membrane. The quantity of chlorine in treated water should not exceed 0.1 to 0.2 ppm. It is more effective below pH 6.5 and less effective at higher pH values. So these are all disadvantages of chlorination process. So let us see the break point of chlorination in the next class. Thank you so much.